best heavyweight combatants in the history of combative sports had the first name Mike. Sir, what's your first name?
It is Mike. Indeed. I
And,
don't know if I could put myself at the top of that class, but I appreciate you putting me there for the moment.
well, tell us who you are, your full name. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah, my name is Mike Clark. I wrestled for Trinity High School here in Louisville. Still live here in Louisville. Picked up wrestling one day because my coach joked at me that he didn't know if I would be any good, and I accepted that challenge wholeheartedly.
I got you. And of course, you're the 2005 KHSAA Heavyweight State Champion. And there's been a few good Mikes come down the line in the combative world. Tyson, Spinks. We go on and on and on with guys that are named Mike. But I think you could probably handle them. I think you could. Especially Mike Tyson in 05. I think he was on the down. I like to have seen you and Mike Tyson, the battle of the Mikes. You know what I'm saying? But so you kind of gave us a little bit of insight there right off the gate about what grade are you in when you start wrestling?
I didn't start wrestling until I was in high school. I was walking through freshman football practice, and I met my coach, and like I said, he kind of joked with me, and I picked up the sport and loved every second of it for real.
And that's kind of a, I don't want to say a rarity, but I mean, very rarely do you hear guys start in high school and then make it to the state finals, let alone there's a few that we've met with, but the kind of earlier in the KHSAA wrestling, like in the 80s, some in the 90s. But nowadays, man, kids are wrestling all year round. As of this filming, we're filming this in September of 2023. There's off-season tournaments every weekend. Kids could go somewhere and wrestle. Gatlinburg, Tennessee comes to mind, the beach, Ohio. There's even in Kentucky, there's off-season tournaments all over the place. So it's kind of cool, though, you were able to jump right in and be successful. I'm going to take a wild shot in the dark and say you probably played on the line, right?
Yeah, offensive lineman. That's right.
And Trinity, I think it's either them or Highlands. They have like the most football state championships, don't they?
Yeah, I would say probably as it stands right now, Trinity, but I know the Highlands is close. So
yeah, they're for a while. They were going back and forth. So Trinity always has no matter what sport it is, they're always going to be ranked in the top, 2 or 3. I mean, you don't want to see Trinity on your schedule. I'll tell you like that. If you're
yeah, and that's part of it too. Is like when you're in the right place at the right time, you have the right support system around you.
Mm-hmm.
Time is only against you if you allow it to be, right? Like I had people that knew something I didn't, right? They knew I could be a winner at it even when I didn't. So I 3 years of wrestling and I won a state championship, but it's not because I was the best wrestler. It's because I had a good support system and I stuck with it. And when the opportunity presented itself, I saw it and I took it.
That's man, that's an excellent. And one of the beautiful things about this series is getting to hear the stories from everybody we've met with, what got them into wrestling, what kept them in, what motivation they needed, and the youngsters that are in school now, whether it's high school, middle school, elementary school, whatever, is you can have these stories. You can have our 200 plus now state champions we got on the channel. One of these stories is going to speak to you. One of these guys' stories is going to be able to say, well, I can identify with what he's saying. I've been there. I can understand what he's talking about. Maybe you did start late in school. It doesn't mean you can't win it, right?
No doubt. No doubt.
Right.
It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
That's right. That's a good segue. Trinity has 3 team state championships, 1989, 2009, and 2010. And for those of you wondering, that's tied for 4th place overall with Hopkinsville, Fern Creek, and your guys' rival, St. Xavier. They have 3 as well. All 4 of those schools have 3 state championships. But Trinity is 3rd place overall by itself with 40 individual state champions, which is Woodford is 2nd and Union is 1st. But let's go over your state tournament resume here. You said you start wrestling as a freshman. I couldn't find that you making it to the state tournament. Is that correct?
Yeah, I qualified. I finished second in the region that year, but I got hurt and just didn't want to. I didn't want to
I
push through. Right,
understand.
I
I
was young.
understand.
It's more important to be healthy
You're right.
uh, than battling at times. Long
You're right.
game.
And the competition to get on that Trinity offensive starting line is pretty tough as well. I mean, they just don't, you just don't get to, show up to practice one day and be like, I think I'm going to play for Trinity on varsity. No, you gotta earn that spot, right?
Yeah, I mean that's got to be your intention. When you show up there, it doesn't matter what you choose to get into. Once
Mhm.
you choose, they expect you to work towards excellence. So
And
football, wrestling, art class, it don't matter.
I completely understand that. But we're going to talk though about your 2005 state tournament run today. You're a junior. I couldn't find your record. You remember what your record was?
Yeah, I do because my buddy won a state championship at 171 the same year, and he had one more win than me, one less loss. So I think it was I think I was 53-4, something like that.
Who was your buddy that year?
Tony McDermott. Tony won at
Okay. Yep.
171, and me and him went back and forth. We were pretty close in all our stats except for takedowns. That dude could take anybody down at the
Yeah.
time. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think 53-4 was the record. A lot of them were at the beginning out of state. I remember we used to go to like the Evansville Harrison duels. We used to run
Mhm.
into Modern Day.
Yep.
Like we were heavy on a very difficult schedule early in the season. So by the time we got back to Jefferson County and we were seeing, local talent, we had seen state tournament level talent
Oh yeah.
before we ever ended up in the city.
I can completely understand that. And you talked about Tony. After we do your video, we need to get up with him and do his. That way we can get him on the channel.
I would
But
love it. Hey, his videos are exciting, man. My video is gonna look like a slow dance, but it was slow and steady, and we got there. So it is
hey,
what it is.
and that's like sometimes talking about football. Sometimes you got to win to grind it out, 7-6 or 8-7 game. Sometimes you got to win, a basketball score of 45-42 or whatever the case is. You got to be able to, what's the meme? Get a girl that can do both, get a guy that can do both. And that's the way it is. You got to be able to win no matter what the situation is. You got to be able, as long as it says win at the end of it, doesn't matter how you got there.
You only got to win by one to win.
That's it. Only got to win by one. So the first round of your 2005 state tournament, now keep in mind, this is the 3-day state tournament at the Dungeon. So those are very long. I was at this state tournament all 3 days that year. It was a very long state tournament. The first round, you are wrestling Seth Hall from Harrison County. You win that by a fall in 1:45 seconds. The second round, you're wrestling Adam Burden from Ohio County. You win that by a fall in 1:32, and Adam comes in 8th place. This quarterfinals, you're wrestling Daniel Preston from Anderson County. You win that by a fall, 1:55 seconds, and Daniel comes in 4th place. You get to the semifinals, and you're wrestling what many people consider to be the odds-on favorite that year to win it. You're wrestling Keith Logman from Connor, and you win that by a 7-3 decision. Now, before we talk about Keith's place and all that, but you're in the semis, did you know going in that Keith was kind of like the heavy favorite? Everybody was expecting him to win it.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, he hadn't lost to date, so no one expected him to do so for real. Everybody that he beat more than once.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time I'd wrestled him all year. He was what you were shooting for. Like
Yeah.
there was no doubt he was the favorite. He was the one you were gonna have to take down to get there.
He was an absolute animal, and I remember being there. And from where if I've seen so much wrestling, but I think if my memory serves me correctly, you guys were on the opposite end of the dungeon from where I was sitting, and you were up on him, and you could hear the chatter, be like, "Oh my God!" And I think they even come on the PA fans. We have an upset brewing on mat number, whatever. Clark from Trinity is ahead of Logman, number 1 in the state, late in the 3rd period. And it was like, whoa, what is going on here? So that was but did you know who he was before you wrestled him?
I, I hadn't seen him all year, but I knew who he was. I
Okay.
knew that to everyone outside of the people that supported me, he was a favorite. Um, but in our circle, we knew that I could get it done, right? I
Mhm.
was there every day in practice, there late, there early. When you put that work in, you take doubt out of your mind little by little and you replace it with confidence. And my success is not based on whether I could beat someone else. It's based on whether I stuck to my plan, I stuck to my support system, and I wrestled my match, and I knew what he was going to try to do. I knew our game plan to be successful, and I stuck to it. And when that happened, it was like, my coach told me, "Hey, get in your stance. He's going to shoot a single leg. You better make it happen." And that's exactly, he shot a single leg in me. I pancaked him to his back. The whole first period with, I don't know, 20 seconds in or whatever, I was trying to hold him to his back, and it wasn't an upset to us, but Keith was at the top of the food chain until that moment. There's no doubt.
He was an absolute monster. And of course, Connor has a great wrestling tradition, great program. We've done 2 sessions up there, Coach Bedita, and everybody involved with the Connor program. But man, you win your semifinals, you're in the finals. What's going through your head?
At that time, not much went through my head. Like, I used to sleep as much as I could to stay out of my head, right? It was just like, "Coach, come wake me up." We had this little routine where it was like, I'm sleeping through the first half of the finals. I'm gonna get up, find somebody to warm out with. Coach Brown, that y'all did a piece on, used to come
Mhm.
up to me, wake me up, shake my arms out, crack my back, remind me who I was and what we've been through. Same thing every time. Finals regimen, that was no different. I got friends that were in the first half of the finals, and I had to watch their videos on replay because I was in the back snoozing.
I got you. And for which we'll talk about that a little bit when we watch your video. But for those of you that never got to go to the dungeon, behind like where you guys run out, where the head score table was, there was a practice mat back there,
Yeah.
and that's where I guess you were back there taking a snooze, huh? I listen. You gotta do what you
You
gotta.
got to stay out of your own head, man. You
You're right.
can't build these things up. Like you
Mhm.
said, he was the odds on favorite. He never lost. To this day, people talk about what a specimen he was. Even his coach, like, when I see him and we cross paths, we talk about how much that meant. Um, and those are not the things you want in your head at the time, right? You
Right.
want your
No.
confidence, your reminders. You want to be rested. You want to be prepared. You want to be in your zone, not in someone else's. And honestly, when I was a kid, that was the only way I knew how to get out of my own way sometimes, is just go to sleep.
Hey, and it worked for you.
Yeah, I did.
You get to the finals and you're wrestling Rodney Webb from Johnson Central, and Johnson, eastern part of the state. Of course, Trinity right there in the heart of St. Matthews, in the heart of Louisville. So two schools that rarely see each other unless it's like at the state duels or state tournament. Did you know anything about Rodney before you wrestled him?
Not about Rodney, but about Johnson Central. And, you start hearing the term farm boy strength, right? And you start hearing about those dudes down in the holler. Like, it's a different breed. And it's true. Their attitude, the way that they walk and approach, that they are cohesive. You know what I'm saying? They're a group, and they were the perfect example. I knew they were tough. You don't make it to the finals without being tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never wrestled Rodney before that tournament either, but if you're in the finals, you're worth paying attention to.
And you said my channel name there, different breed. That's kind of
Oh,
the
didn't
way.
know that, but
Yeah,
shout out to you,
yeah,
sir. Forgot
yeah.
about that.
Alex Green, different breed. That's the name of the channel.
There
And
you go.
before I started doing the wrestling videos, done some other stuff. And when I would go out officiate or whatever, and people would find out where I'm from because I'm from Johnson County, and
Mhm.
they would say, "Man, those people from the mountains, they're a different breed," or people from Eastern Kentucky, they're a different breed. You guys are a different breed down that way, and it kind of just stuck. And then when I got the name for the thinking of a channel name, I was like, you know what? I think I know what my name is going to be, and that's how it come about. In case you guys are wondering. Also, the song "Sail" by AWOL Nation, has the line, maybe I'm a different breed. I was like, man, that's just a perfect timing. So that's what I went with. But of course, we have your video. We have the face-off, the match, and the medal ceremony. Has it been a while since you've seen it?
I don't think I've ever seen the match.
Well, guess what? Here
Here we
we
go.
are getting ready to share and there it is. A live look at the dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
2005. Now, I've said it in every video. And last night, as of this filming, we had went up and done a bunch of videos with the Campbell County alumni group. You guys you saw Tim Hardy, Jacob Holbrook, all those guys, Joey Hagerdorn, Mason Frank, and the people that that were there. That's all we talked about is how cool the dungeon was, how cool the atmosphere was, the lights, the way that the crowd was almost right on the floor with you, and it's the best atmosphere the KHSAA ever produced, and it's not even close.
I agree. I mean, everyone to say that they were on top of you, right? Like if you were on the right mat, you could hear your parents cheer, and they were right there.
Yep.
They had those ropes up just to block, spectators from wrestlers, but those ropes weren't holding anything back. I mean, we were in the action, and we needed to grow. It was a sign of growth, but you're right. Everybody, packed house, wrestling under the light. Like at that time, it was purely about showing appreciation for the hard work that the kids put in and making sure they knew that it was valued.
And for those of you that are like 1980s action movie fans like myself, it would kind of, if you never got to go to the dungeon, it was kind of like one of the old like blood sport, like where they're down in the Kumite and like everybody's like up on the bleachers and they got the three dudes up like with the like on the scores table. Yes, I know that the dungeon was a little bit nicer than the Chinese, slum over there in Hong Kong, like where they had to fight. But just that feel, like it was like a movie script, like something out of The Karate Kid or something. Like you just knew this was an event. You know what I mean? This was a major primetime event. And I think we've talked enough. Are you ready to go back to the dungeon?
Let's do it.
Here we go. We turned down the mic because it's so loud. The crowd there was crazy. So you're backstage, man. I guess you're awake now because you have to be for the.
I'm awake. Yeah, my coach is probably back there right now, popping my back and grabbing my shoulders and reminding me what we're here for real. Every time. No change.
They got the jock jams playing in the background.
Yeah.
Who didn't have jock
Somebody's
jams
probably punching a balloon around in the side somewhere.
Throwing toilet paper rolls.
Toilet paper rolls. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final round of the 2005 Kentucky High School Athletic Association State Wrestling Championships. And now, introducing the finalists. At the 275 heavyweight class from Trinity, a junior with a record of 50-4, ranked number 3 in
50-4.
There a stud comes trotting out. And it's going to cut right into the match here.
Cool. There's Joe.
Yep. So you got that white Trinity final singlet on?
Yeah, that was like our honor, right? We called them the Icy Whites, and it was something you had to work towards. You got to be in the finals to put on the Icy Whites.
No, that's what, man. Those white final singlets that teams are adopting, man, those are sharp. Just across the board, everybody, starting to kind of go to like a final singlet, and they're sharp.
No doubt.
Like you said, man, it's an honor to get to wear them. So
Yes.
You've got Dave Barnett as your official. Dave's a good official.
Yeah, Dave Barnett's a good man.
Yep. So you look to be a pretty significantly taller than him. What are you about to play? 6'3", 6'4", something like that?
6'4", yeah,
6'4"?
6'4". And that when I wrestled there, I usually ended the season around 270. I always started having to drop a few pounds at the beginning, just because they beef you up for football, and
Right.
I'm not a small dude to begin with. I'm not skipping any meals, so when I used to
Yeah.
come back around, it was like, hey, drop a couple pounds, big guy. Let's get moving again.
Yeah. Now, like you're trying to pummel in. Are we looking just for like a big trip, a big throw, just to get on top of him, or?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do a lot of trips. I did a lot of snap downs and slide bys and stuff, just because you don't want to get under somebody that's too heavy, right? Because if it ain't slick and you're not out of there quick, you're in a lot of trouble. So
Yeah. And
I just like to
yep.
bang, and when people would do things to me that would try to throw me off my game or make me start thinking about other things, you take those things with you. I had a guy that I wrestled from Seneca, John Walters. He would grab my head and pull, boom, 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 over. He didn't even sometimes mean anything by it, but he wanted to frustrate me, right? So it's like pummel, pummel, push, circle, whatever you need to do to start to disrupt their game
Right.
plan and force yours.
And he just got hit for stalling right there.
Yes, sir.
And Rodney, I got to officiate Rodney throughout his high school career because I was officiating here as well. And you didn't want to be caught under Rodney because Rodney could stick you in a minute. I mean,
Yeah.
he would.
Yeah, you don't get to state finals on accident, for real. Like, he was there every bit as legit, a chance to win. In my heart, I believe I'm going to win. At the time, I wasn't here saying Rodney might have a chance here. I was sleeping, so I didn't tell myself that at
Right
times.
there.
But,
So both you guys have been hit for stalling.
Yep. You can pummel in all you want, but if you keep pummeling in for too long and you're not making any progress,
Yep.
it's the same as moving in circles. So there was a lot of stall calls in this. Like I said, sometimes it feels like a slow dance, but hey, slow dances are sweet too. I just didn't know I was going to be dancing with Rodney.
Yeah, for real. So he won the toss and he's going to take down. And right out of the gate, you're trying like some type of like a spiral ride there to get him off his base, which was smart. Because right there, what you're doing, keeping your chest on his back, running on your toes, not wrestling on your knees. That's very good fundamental wrestling.
Oh yeah, drill to the end, spiral ride, baseball grip, anything from there, right? Take your picks. There it is, baseball grip. We used to chase that baseball grip, spiral ride. We drilled that to death. Switch sides, do it again. They clamp down, jump around.
And he is so he get hits for stalling right there on the bottom. So that's of course your first point of the match. Trying like a half there, but he's able to defend it.
Yep. And sometimes you just see your opponent drop their head.
Hang on a second. Did you see that the scoreboard went out?
I never noticed that.
Yep. I was when I was editing this, I remember that happening in the building. I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that. There it comes back on. And there it kept on running. So it's one of those, it's the craziest little things that you remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's cool to see this. Like you remember winning, but being in the moment is kind of a blur. So.
Now, do you have like a lot of family, a lot of friends in the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, my family was there. My mom, dad, sister, brother. I think my grandma was there. My buddies they were out of school. They rented a hotel. We were all there. Like
Okay.
It was, like I said, my support system is what it is. And a lot of those people that were in that crowd supporting me are still my friends and people that I see regularly today. So
I got you. And Frankfurt to Louisville isn't that far of a trip either way. So
yeah.
Let's get on
Yep.
64 and head east.
Straight down. If you hit Lexington, you went too far.
Yeah. Yep. Turn around and come back. When I come down to do videos in Louisville and I get to Frankfurt, I feel like I'm almost back to my house, even though it's still 2.5. So he gets away. He gets his one. So we're tied up 1-1. And Rodney has Darren Gamble, which was my coach, and then Dave Russell in his corner. I can tell by who's standing there. And you said you had Coach Brown.
Yeah. In my corner here, I know Coach Brown was there. I can't remember if it was Coach Rudolph or Coach Anderson also in the corner with me, but Coach Rudolph's a pretty selfless person, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was Coach Anderson there with me too. So
I got you. Now on the bottom, I mean, I can't imagine too many people held you down for an extended period of time.
yeah, I really like starting on the bottom. You know, we always preached, you know, quick start off the whistle, right? Like start the motion. So I really liked switches. When I wrestled Daniel Preston, I hit a Granby, if you can believe it. Like I really like those moves that the little guys wanted to say that big dudes didn't do. So if I could pull them off, then I had a leg up at times. So.
And right there, he went optional start and cut you I have to imagine with the hopes of getting a takedown on you to tie it up, because I think he probably would have got either cut you anyway, or maybe even you got a reversal on you or something. So that was kind of smart to just go ahead and let you up.
Yeah, and he's shorter. You know, if he can, the reason I'm trying to lift him up is because he wants to be lower than me. He wants to be up in there. He's probably going to be in a better position to trip than I am because he's already down there.
Yep.
Right. So the same way I want to stand him up, he wants to, pull me down.
Yep, that's exactly correct. Do you remember being cognizant of the score? Like, okay, I'm up two, or
no, I always had to check with my coaches for the score. I was never, I could never keep up with that, and I didn't see well at the time. So looking at the scoreboard didn't even help me. I couldn't even tell. So I always had to check with my coaches.
I understand. So 39.1 seconds left.
I got a couple fans in the crowd, it sounds like.
Yeah. All right, we're out of bounds. We're neutral. 17.9 seconds left to go. So counting down, and I think that was the first shot he tried the whole match, and you're holding on to a And that's the end, man. You win by a final score 3-1.
It's beautiful, man. It
good.
lets you know that you're capable, right? It's like, you work towards something, you fight, you never know how it's going to happen. Like, you never know when someone else is going to get injured or make a mistake. That's why you don't plan on other people. You stick to your plan. You don't focus on the rest. This is my favorite part right here. I'm my Coach Brown. Oh, you didn't see it.
Oh, well, the video doesn't have it. I'm sorry.
He would carry me. So in that moment, I ran across the mat like an airplane. I jumped, and I almost jumped over Coach Brown, who's like 6'6", and he caught me right and took me over to the fans. Wow. So it was a really fun moment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The video just doesn't have it, man. I apologize.
Hey, no thing, bro. I got it right here.
Well, and I like for the rest of the world to be able to see it, but I understand. Of course, the medal ceremony here.
Yep.
And if you were never at the dungeon, they would turn off the spotlight on the mat and move the spotlights over to the awards podium. So just one area at a time would be lit up. It was kind of cool.
There's Daniel Preston.
Yep, Daniel. Here's Logman.
Yep.
There's
I think
Coach
I
McGill.
wrestled everybody, almost everybody on the podium there. Ohio. I wrestled the St. X guy a bunch throughout the season. The Paducah Tillman dude went to the finals the next year.
Yep. That's what I was going to bring up your 2006 season here.
Yep.
And there you are, man, climbing to the top of the world.
Yep. Feels good to have your hard work pay off. You know, even those people that are not at the top still achieved a goal. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
They
yeah.
still did something great. So
Absolutely.
it's awesome to be number one, but just because you ain't number one don't mean you ain't winning. Because one of those dudes ended up in the NFL. I think Keith ended up being like an Army Ranger. You know, like a lot of these dudes went on to do some really cool things that didn't reflect wrestling. So sometimes, you know, you win at wrestling. Sometimes you use wrestling as a vehicle to go win at something else.
Who ended up in the NFL there?
I think that Paducah dude did. Brian Hall. I think
Brian
somebody
Hall.
told me he was with the Ravens for a minute. And then there was another guy who didn't hit the podium till next year from Central that is still playing
Corey
for.
Peters.
Yeah, Corey Peters.
Yep.
Sorry, man, his name
Yep.
escaped me. Even though I like that guy a lot, Corey
Yeah,
Peters still playing some ball. So there was some really good talent. Corey never won a state title, but Mike Clark never went to the NFL, right? So it's like, who cares? You know, we all did something cool.
Corey played for Kentucky, University of Kentucky, for I think he was a varsity letterman all 4 years there. And I know he's been with the Arizona Cardinals. He's been like all over
Yeah,
the place.
he was drafted by the Falcons. He spent some time with the Falcons. He went to the Cardinals. I think he's in Jacksonville now.
Okay.
I've seen him once since high school, but I still ask Shay about him. Like we had a lot of fun competing against each other.
Yeah, I can imagine. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't say this was your junior season, 2005 and 2006 heavyweight, come in third place. So, man, just a 3-time. You make it to the state tournament 3 years. You place all 3 years. One of those ended up being a state championship. Now, when you win a state championship, of course, you get the medal. You get probably something up in your gym. I know Trinity's. We've been to Trinity's mat room. They have, of all the individual state champions, they have like a photo up there on that wall. But you also get a ring. Now, I got to ask the question, did you get a ring?
I sure did. Yeah, I keep it close. I don't put it on often, but it didn't go far. So I got it right there. Me and Tony, we got to make our rings together.
That's awesome, man. Of course,
really
you guys
thing,
are seeing photos of it and the top and other sides, man. Bo Hoffman, when we went to his house, he brought his out and he said the same thing. He never, like, I guess, going to the Trinity events or like alumni events or whatever, he'll wear it, but he keeps it put up. And it's just, it's cool that, how much that means to people, how much having that forever. And the first time that I got to referee the state tournament in 2020, before COVID shut the world down, I got the notification I was getting to do it. And I always wanted to referee the state tournament. I always, wanted that. And when I got the email from the KHSAA that morning, I contacted Balfour's in Louisville. I did. They're on, what is that? Is it Blake and Baker?
Yeah.
Okay. I contacted them there, called them, said, hey, this is what I want. I want the state tournament or state tournament official, my name, all that kind of stuff. And I think it was 2 weeks after the state wrestling tournament, the world shut down. And Balfour sent me an email like a week later. We're sorry, our production has halted due to the global pandemic. And I didn't get that ring until like later in May. And they called me. I happened to be off work on that Friday, and they called me and said, Mr. Green, your ring is ready. I got up. I left my house that morning and drove down to Balfour's and picked it up. That was the happiest trip to Louisville I've ever made. So I can only imagine what it means like, to actually win a state championship, and then have that ring, have it forever, wear it. Because, people want to talk about it. That big green emerald shines. Ooh, what have you got there? Oh, just a state championship ring. No big deal, right? But man, it's cool. It's cool that you've had that. It looks to be in great shape. Do you wear it out a lot?
No, same thing with Bo, right? Like, not much for bragging. We're going to a Trinity event or something. I'm gonna put it on because I'm not gonna be the only one there. But like, I'm not gonna wear something out in public that's gonna, bring up like how successful I was in high school, right? I'm thankful for that time, but I'm 35 years old now. I just had a new daughter come into the world, right? Like, there are so many things that are important beyond
Right.
that, that include that,
Right.
so.
Oh yeah, I completely. And that is something about this that in every video that we've done, I think a lot of people kind of respect the fact that this series is not us living in the past. This is not us trying to recapture our glory days. It's not, hey, look at me, look at what I did. No, this is what I did then. It's not who I am now. This wrestling, winning a state championship, made me who I am today. Winning this state championship, the lessons I learned in the wrestling room, the lessons I learned from my coaches, this is what made me who I am today. And daggone it, I'm proud of it. I'm not going to be ashamed that I was a state wrestling champion. Like I said, I'm not going to go around, hey man, look at my ring.
Yeah.
Bet you can have one of these. Yeah,
Yeah.
What, you want a shot at the title, big boy? We can do it right now. Roll the mats out. No.
Yeah.
I was a state champion. This is what made me into one of the reasons I am who I am today. And I'm proud to be able to say that I was the best at what I was able to do.
Absolutely, no doubt. I mean, it's cool to win. It's awesome to win, but it's in the past, and you got to find a new thing to move in the direction of, and you got to redefine winning sometimes too. So it just, some people might have jumped into that wrestling tournament, and they were the first person from their school to ever get to the state tournament. That's a win. You win a match. You've been working your whole career. You get there, you win a match. That's a win. Those are not to be discounted because you're not a state champ, right? If your expectation is to get there and win a match, you're a winner,
And not trying to sound like a philosophy kid high for the first time in his first semester of college, but when you look at like the law of relativity in relation to what, if Trinity football doesn't win a state championship, for the most part, that's going to be kind of like a disappointing season. But if you look at a school that maybe couldn't field a team 5 years ago, and then they have a winning season, they're going to have a parade in the middle of town for them. So it's all about what your definition of success is. It's all about what you define as, like you said, even making it to the state tournament for some schools in wrestling is like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, it's not to be discredited at all.
Exactly.
It's something special. It's something they're going to remember and value the same way that I value my memory of that state tournament. They're going to value that. It just makes you who you are, man. And if you let it make you better, it's what it's going to do. If you let it make you worse, that's what it's going to do. But that's why you have to set your own expectations and not build them off of other people or other things that you see. You got to make up your own mind, and you got to move in the direction of those goals and keep your eyes on the prize and be real about what it takes for you to be a winner.
I like to give guys time in the videos to, say, like, before we wrap it up, is there anything else you'd like to say about your wrestling career, or what wrestling taught you, or anything like that before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to kind of plug it all in there, right? Have a good support system. Know when to take advantage of an opportunity. Know that whether you're a winner or loser in high school wrestling is not a definition of who you are, right? When I lost when I was a senior, it was tough for a long time until I realized I was really fortunate to be that successful that early on. And everybody don't hit it that early. But just because you don't hit it early, don't mean that you don't hit it late. And sometimes people who find success really early expect it and then fall on their face a little bit because they don't get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let your wins and your losses do anything but drive you in the direction you want to go.
And I think that's a good spot to end this one, ma'am. Thank you for doing this with me, reaching out and getting it done. Let's see, we have Grant Ullman on the channel from Trinity. We have Beanie Barton's, 2 of his. We have Richard Brown's Memorial. We have Alex Ray from 1990. We have Bo Hoffman. We have a bunch of other Trinity guys that we're in talks with, just trying to whether meet in person or do a Zoom. So we're going to try and get as many Trinity guys as we possibly can. Some of the names you guys, your Bradburys, your Hitchings, a couple other of the other, your Keegan Duncans, your Hudson Meyerdorfs, a bunch of those guys from that was on the 09, 2010 state championship teams. But man, again, bro, thank you for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. We can add another Shamrock to the channel, man. But guys, the Shamrocks, man. That's I think Trinity is the only Shamrock mascot in the state. I think.
Good.
Because I don't think Kentucky could handle another Shamrock. You know what I mean? It would be it'd be a 2-horse race if you had another Shamrock. As many state championships overall as Trinity wins. But guys, that's all I have. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the mats.